First up, my views on the nuclear debate in a moment, but I want to start tonight with a question for the Australian Federal Police, the local Victorian Police and state and federal politicians. Overnight, a federal MP's electorate office was attacked. Let's not beat around the bush. It was an attempted firebombing. The MP, Josh Burns, is Jewish. His electorate office is in Melbourne, St Kilda, and that's home to a large Jewish population. I went there today and had a look at the damage on that site this morning, crawling with police. Make no mistake, this was a dangerous, potentially deadly attack with residents living above that very office. Now, my question tonight, why is this not, as I think it should be, being labelled and called an act of terror, a terrorist attack? If firebombing the office of a federal Jewish MP in a suburban neighbourhood in the middle of the night isn't terrorism, you have to ask what is. Josh Burns himself used interesting language today. He described it as being a politicised attack. Here he is.
It's obviously has an extra layer because I'm a federal member of Parliament, and this is obviously politically motivated attacks.
A fellow retired state Labor MP tweeted, "Looking at you, the Greens," he said. Now, for some reason, reporters at that Burns media conference didn't ask him what he meant by calling it a political attack. Police believe that 5 people, I think it's now 6, were involved. That street would be crawling with CCTV cameras, and surely by now VicPol must have a task force looking at these attacks on MPs' offices. But as far as I'm aware, this is the first time that they've have tried to torch the premises of a politician. Radio 3AW has some 3am phone footage of the group running from the scene after setting fires in a couple of communication pits, Telstra pits. Can I repeat, this is not, as is being widely reported, vandalism. It's out-and-out anti-Semitic terrorism. Former Treasurer and host of a Sky TV documentary on anti-Semitism, Josh Frydenberg, issued this statement. He called the event, quote, despicable and dangerous, and one that requires more than words of condemnation. And he's gone further. This stuff has gone way over the line. And remember in Sydney, when Bishop Mara Emanuel was allegedly stabbed by a knife-wielding 16-year-old in a church while his sermon was being live-streamed, causing a riot outside, New South Wales police and politicians were quick to label that a terrorist attack. One alleged attacker attacking alone with a knife is labelled terrorism. An arson attack by, it said, 5 or 6 individuals, smashing windows with hammers, drawing horns on Burns's photo and daubing anti-Semitic slogans on windows like Zionism is fascism, and that's called vandalism? Give me a break. Now, by chance, no one was injured in St Kilda last night, thank God. But this is an attack aimed at terrorising a federal Jewish MP because he's Jewish and a member of a government that radical pro-Palestine supporters believe is not doing enough to support Palestinians. Now, as I said, an attack aimed at terrorising anyone who doesn't support their cause is terrorism. Here's a bit more of what Josh Burns, who was clearly rattled by this attack, had to say this morning.
My team turning up to work and being abused and being screamed at, and I've got really good people working for me. They are hard-working, decent, kind people who have no role in a conflict on the other side of the world, and their place of work has just been smashed in by really dangerous idiots.
Now, this radical terrorising of MPs' staff and MPs, including people like the Prime Minister, Bill Short and Mark Dreyfus and others, should not just be labelled as vandalism. Call it out for what it really is. A hatred of anything Jewish, a dangerous attack on federal parliamentary property, a campaign of terror that is totally unacceptable in this country. We must call this out for what it is. Radical, anti-Jewish political terrorism aimed at intimidating politicians with violent attacks on their places of work.